everyone, and welcome to today's Volunteer West Virginia Wednesday. We're so happy to see you all. It's beautiful weather in Charleston, where we're located. It's 71 degrees, so I know it was probably hard for you to give up some time outside, so we really appreciate it. We're going to get started in about 1 minute, but in the meantime, we have a really fun chat box question today. It's up on your screen, and the question we're going to answer is, what organization are you with, and what is the best gift you've ever received? So take a second, think about that, put your answer in the chat, and then we'll get started in just one moment. All right, welcome everyone. If you just joined us, we are doing introductions in the chat box. We're sharing what organization are you with and what is the best gift you've ever received. So Shayla McGuire from Community Resources shared her best gift she received would be a new computer from her husband. So that's excellent. And there's some really fun answers in the chat for you all to see, because today is all about recognition and volunteer appreciation. So we thought it would be fun for you to think about something that you've received that you really love and appreciate. Samantha shared that she got a Camden Park season pass for her and her kids. I love that idea. I've been wanting to go there. I've never been to Camden Park. And shout out to Deborah Wolf. She said the birth of her daughter, that is precious. That is a good gift. Let's see, I'm going to share the next one that pops up, I'm going to share, and then we're going to get started. So shout out to Chelsea from LifeBridge, and the best gift she ever received was probably her new car. All right, so if you're still sharing, go ahead and put it in the chat box. And I'm going to go ahead and get started while you all share your gifts. All right, so welcome. If you've never met us before, my name's Dana Bryant. I'm with Volunteer West Virginia. I've been here for over 10 years. I love what I do, and I grew up in West Virginia, and I love being a part of Volunteer West Virginia. I'm also joined by Gina. She's going to be helping out in the chat box today, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer them. Gina's also going to let people in and out of the waiting room, so if you get kicked out of the meeting, no worries. You can log back in and Gina will get you. So today's training is part of our Volunteer West Virginia webinar series. We started this webinar series during COVID as a way for all of us to connect, and it's been such a hit. We've kept it around ever since. So the way it works is it's a free monthly webinar series where we provide trainings, we explain our programs, and most of all, we have fun and we have a good time. So this is going to be a relaxed use of your hour. We're going to have a lot of good information, but just kick back and pick up your feet and have a good time. We have some really great topics coming up over the next few months. The trainings will happen all year long. This is just a snapshot of well into the summer. So in May, we're going to have grant writing nuts and bolts with Nikki from the Grant Advantage. This is one of our most popular trainings. So if you haven't attended yet, be sure to sign up for it. It's going to be 2 hours. And then after that, Nikki's going to be joining us again in June for a really interesting topic. This one is the top 8 mistakes made after winning the grant. So sometimes you're so excited to apply the grant. When you receive the grant, you go, oh goodness, now I'm in for it. So she's going to share some common mistakes so you don't have to make them. In July, we're going to be discussing Nonprofit Board Leadership 101. So this will be great whether you have a nonprofit or even a community group. And then in August, we're going to have insights from the field, expert advice for volunteer program coordinators. And we're going to be spotlighting a few volunteer program coordinators from the state, and they're going to share advice. And if you'd like to present as one of those volunteer program coordinators, give me a ring or send me an email. I would love to work with you. So we're going to be spotlighting maybe 3 different program coordinators from the state. So today's topic is all about celebrating volunteers. It's National Volunteer Week is coming up, and then Global Volunteer Month. So we thought this would be a perfect time to talk about recognizing volunteers. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why volunteer recognition is important in the first place. And then we have a really special guest. We have Valerie Bright. She's the coordinator of volunteer services at Davis Medical Center, Vandalia Health, and she runs a fantastic volunteer program. And we are lucky to have her share what they're going to be doing for National Volunteer Week. And then lastly, we're going to close out the hour with volunteer recognition tips and tricks. So different ideas that you can do for your volunteers. We've organized them in a few different categories, and we're going to be discussing low-cost ideas as well. So even if you don't have a big budget, there's going to be a few ideas for you at the end of today's presentation. So let's start out with, why is volunteer recognition important? This might seem like an obvious topic, but this is really great information whether you need to go to your supervisor or your board to request funds for volunteer recognition, just to get everyone on the same page. So that's why I like to talk about it. So thanking volunteers is an important part of managing and retaining volunteers. And here's a few pictures of volunteers from across the state being recognized for their volunteer service. You might be interested to know that volunteer recognition is actually one of the steps in the volunteer management cycle. So you'll start out with number 1, you're going to recruit your volunteers, you get everyone on board, and then you begin to process your volunteers in step 2. And number 3, you're going to begin to train your volunteers, communicate with your volunteers, and supervise your volunteers. And then once you get all that done, you might think my hard work's done, but actually the last step is volunteer recognition. And then that's how you really make your volunteers feel appreciated, heard, and you keep them on board. And then after that, you're going to start the cycle all over again. So when you're thinking about this, you can think about it as a yearly cycle or a quarterly cycle, and begin to recognize ways that you can integrate volunteer recognition into your program, knowing that it's one of the 6 steps. So just for a moment to yourself, you don't have to answer in the chat, but maybe think about a time when someone acknowledged your hard work, whether at a job or while volunteering, and how did that recognition make you feel? So think back to a time that you were recognized as an employee or volunteer, and just remember that in your mind and in your heart, and think about how that made you feel. And we're going to talk about those emotions a little bit. So some of the benefits of volunteer recognition that might already be floating to the top of your mind is that it strengthens your volunteers' connection to your nonprofit or community organization. So in the corner of this slide, I have a $5 gift card for Starbucks. We have a large conference that all the volunteer West Virginians from across the country, from different states, attend, and I volunteer at that conference. And the first time I volunteered, they gave me a $5 gift card. And it wasn't a lot, but it really stuck with me. And ever since then, I've continued to volunteer. I would think maybe it's because I have a good heart, but honestly, just receiving that $5 gift card really added some sparkle to my step. And now it's something that I look forward to every year. So this is just a great example of how passing along a token of appreciation helps to help volunteers stay with your organization. And it's something they're going to remember, whether it's as small as a $5 gift card from Starbucks. It creates a sense of belonging to boost retention. So when your volunteers feel like they're part of a team and they're in this together, tackling a community problem, they're going to stick around for the long haul, because everyone wants to feel like they belong. And I think that's something we've been tackling ever since COVID. So anything that you can do to build community and belongingness at your organization, that's what people are looking for right now, because everyone wants to feel like they're part of a team. And then lastly, it establishes a supportive environment to inspire new volunteers to get involved. So if your volunteers are happy, they're going to be out telling their friends, their coworkers, their cousins that your organization is a great place to volunteer. So one of the top ways to get new volunteers in this state would be through word of mouth. So this is a great way to keep your volunteers happy, keep them buzzing, and they're going to help you recruit new volunteers. So here's just 3 examples of how volunteer recognition helps. And then you can think back to that question we just had and the emotions you felt when someone recognized your hard work. And then I just wanted to briefly highlight how gratitude in the workplace and how it translates to volunteer recognition and appreciation. So I really wanted to find some statistics for you about how it actually pays off, because I know a lot of people are number people and they like data, and I couldn't really find anything, but I did find some statistics for the workplace. And I think it would be safe to say that these statistics would carry on into the volunteer sector. So you can see here on your own that by recognizing your volunteers or your employees, I know they're 2 different groups of people, but just the same thought here, it's going to make people more productive when their work is recognized, and they're going to want to stick around longer. So you can see that companies that emphasize employee recognition experience a 13% turnover rate compared to a smaller one with minimal focus on recognition. And then you can see that people are overall happier. So 55% of employees did feel more appreciated during the holiday season. So when you're appreciated and recognized, you're going to be happier, you're going to stick around, and you're going to work harder, whether you're an employee or a volunteer at your organization. So now I want to introduce someone who's absolutely wonderful at recognizing her volunteers. She's been at Davis Medical Center for 13 years, so she loves what she does, and she's going to share some of the things that she does for National Volunteer Week to recognize her volunteers. Hi, Valerie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me as a presenter today. My name is Valerie, and I am the coordinator of volunteer services at Davis Medical Center, Vandalia Health. I've had the privilege of serving in this role since 2012, overseeing the recruitment, retention, training, and most importantly, the recognition of our volunteers here at Davis Medical. Every day I have the honor of working with some of the most selfless, compassionate, giving people who dedicate their time and talents to make somebody's life a little bit better every day, even if it's just a word of kindness or opening a door, pushing them in a wheelchair. You know, you never know what that little bit of kindness does to somebody's day. So anyway, I am very fortunate, and I'm excited today to share with you what we do to honor our volunteers at Davis Medical Center. And I hope that maybe it will inspire you and give you some ideas that you can implement wherever you manage volunteers and make them feel appreciated. So, well, let's get right into it. Celebrating National Volunteer Appreciation Week at Davis Medical Center. So each year during Global Volunteer Month, which is April, we celebrate 1 week where we really focus on our volunteers and what they do at our facility. And I put these dates on my calendar, and I'm going to share. We have the dates already for 2026 and 2027, so that you would have those on your calendar already, so there's no conflicts, and you can begin thinking about what you need to get in place for making those successful also. So the planning begins. So we start here a few months before Volunteer Week, and it's so exciting. The first thing I do is I like to choose a theme. So some of the themes that are going to pop up on the screen are themes that we've had in previous years. We are fortunate enough here to have a marketing department who helps kind of create the graphics and things, but some of them we just do a search and use some that are available on some of the sales sites like Positive Promotions, if you've heard of them. And they have some great themes and great quotes and things that you can use. But we try to choose something that fits into our, our mission, vision, and values, and something we haven't done before. After doing it for 12 years in a row before now, it's hard to come up with fresh new ideas. So I had to refer back and make sure I haven't repeated something I've already done, because some of my volunteers have been with me for that long. So anyway, so during this planning stage, you choose your theme, and then you start choosing what activities that you want to incorporate into your week. That's okay. And after you choose your activities, then we get to do some fun stuff. So at Davis Medical Center, we are fortunate enough to have a budget where we can choose a very nice gift for our volunteers. They give many, many hours, some of them on a regular schedule every single week, 4 to 8 hours a week even. And we try to do something that is logoed with our brand so that our volunteers, say if it's a logoed umbrella or a logoed shirt or something like that, we encourage them to wear them to one of their other functions. And we did a button drive one year where we gave them all a button that says, "Ask me why I volunteer." And they wear it somewhere and it sparks conversation with other people. They want to know, well, what do you do there? How do you volunteer? How does that make you feel? It's a great conversation starter, a great recruitment tool also. So the gift that we do usually has our logo on it, and it's used for some marketing things. Our volunteers are our greatest recruiters, as Dana said. So some of the companies that we order our special gifts from: For Imprint, Health Promotions Now, Positive Promotions. That's the one I mentioned earlier. If you go to their site, they have a whole section on Volunteer Appreciation Week with all kinds of themes, logos that you can just copy and paste. It's a great resource and they're great people to work with. They have some sales going on, the month before Volunteer Appreciation Week that are very affordable. Like some of them are less than $2 a piece. So, and they will customize any of their items or just leave them stocked with the logo of the week. So it's a great resource. But sometimes you want to stay in your hometown and support your local businesses. And we did this one year. We have a local wood tech company, and we chose a cutting board made out of various kinds of wood. And they did an engraving on it of our logo. And that was keeping our money local, supporting them, yet getting our brand out and giving the volunteers something that's really special. And something also to keep in mind is you want to give them something that's useful, but that's appropriate. So if you're working with a group of senior citizens, for instance, you might not want to give them something that's all tech related, because a lot of them, now some of my senior citizens are very tech savvy, but for the most part, my teenagers would enjoy that more, or my college students. So keep that in mind when you're picking out a gift that's customized to your group of people, because you want it to be special. All right, so you've picked out your theme, you've picked out your gift, and you've decided what events that you want to have. So now it's time to invite your volunteers. So here at Davis, we create a letter that's got some general information on it. Of course, it has our theme for this year: volunteers, the heart of our community. And then we put a little message on it, tell them the dates, and then we tell them about the events we're going to have, and you'll see them listed on here. One of the neat things that our hospital does is they give a complimentary meal every single day of the week of Volunteer Appreciation Week. So all you have to do is bring your badge in, show them, and you eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Of course, we'll talk about the others here in a little bit. We have an appreciation luncheon, an appreciation walk, and the wall of honor, we call it. And at the bottom of the letter, I do always include the statistics for the previous year, because it's nice for the volunteers to see how many hours were donated at our facility. And we do measurable things like how many visitors were escorted, how many wheelchairs were moved, inpatient visits. So those are interesting things for them to see. Then the next thing that we do is we invite our staff here to get involved. And part of that is letting them know what our volunteers have done. So we do ours in the previous calendar year. Our management system, Volgistics, provides all that information because the volunteers input it at the end of each of their shifts. So it's really nice to be able to pull those reports. But you can see here, the staff, first of all, will get the announcement of the week. The theme is on the letter. And then we tell them all the amazing things that our volunteers have donated. And then it inspires them to want to get involved. So at the bottom, you can see you can help by, and there's some suggestions here. Some of them are very, very simple suggestions. Write a personal note or get a card for a volunteer that you interact with on a daily basis, maybe in your department, and just write them a heartfelt note of appreciation. It goes a long way. It really does. Sign your department up for a stop on the Volunteer Appreciation Walk, which is the highlight of the week here. And I'll tell you all about that. And then they give a token of appreciation. And then they can also volunteer to serve the volunteers at our luncheons. So we try to make them feel really special and serve them. All right. One more click. There we go. So the first one I'll talk about is one that we do every year, is our awards luncheon. And we try to make it really special. You can see in the pictures, we're going to share a lot of pictures today. And these are throughout several years of awards luncheons. We decorate up, each place setting actually has a poster, a miniature poster of the one that we put in our lobbies that show each of the volunteers, who the volunteers are, how many years of service they have, how many hours they donated, and where they volunteer. Because a lot of them work in so many different areas that they don't even know what else is going on all over the hospital. So it's kind of a neat way for them to network and see the names and numbers. But we have a lot of fun. We really decorate up, and you can see the gifts on the tables. It's a lot of fun. And see the picture of our award-winning pet therapy dog, Ellie Mae, and her handler, Mark. They did win a Governor's Service Award a couple years ago, so that was exciting. So the awards luncheon is definitely something very special. We have it catered by our nutrition services. They do a wonderful job. It's very minimal cost. The decorations, like the centerpieces of flowers, we'll even do drawings and send those home with the volunteers. So.
Sorry, Valerie, I got stuck.
That's okay.
Brief intermission. There you go.
All right. So at this luncheon, you can see I've shared a couple pictures of our gift tables, our certificates. So let's focus on the one right here in the middle. This is from last year. And you'll see the poster that this is our administrator of our hospital at the time, and our dear volunteer, Joyce Hutton. She donates many, many hours of service. She's a retired school teacher. She takes our newspapers to all of our inpatients a couple times a week. She does pathfinding services. She jumps in and helps wherever. But she is getting pinned this year. And you can see the little pin there on the side. That is what she's receiving for her service hours. So we do it by tiers. Like they'll receive it every 50 for the first couple hundred, and then it goes, or up to 1,000, and then it goes 500. So we have some volunteers this year receiving 10,000 hour pins, and we're super excited to have the pinning ceremony, but we make it very special. The staff comes and serves them. The administrator hands out the certificates. I take a picture of every single one of them with him. And the poster that she's receiving is just a duplicate of what we put on our honor wall, or our appreciation wall, that I'm going to show you here shortly. The pins are customized. We order from Brown Industries. I think that's the next. Yes. They're a great company to work with if you haven't found one that would customize pins. But we choose a different gemstone each year, just so we can look and see, you know, and we chose the pink last year because we were integrating into Vandalia Health, and that was symbolic of that. And volunteers really care about these pins. It's like an honor. Some of them have 10 pins, and they will wear all of them on their jackets. And some of them just wear the newest one. So, but it makes them feel very special. It's sort of like medals that you receive for your service other places. It's a badge of honor for them. So those are very special things. Okay, so this is our appreciation walk. Now what this is It started out about 10 years ago. We wanted to do some activities that weren't just like we did ice cream socials during the week. We did bingo games where our CEO would call the numbers and they would get prizes. But we wanted to do something that gave the staff here at our hospital a chance to say personally that we appreciate all that your volunteers do. And I will just say on a side note that the gifts that the volunteers receive at each one of these listed sites, these departments sign up themselves to be stops on this walk. And they pull their own personal money together to give these gifts. And they're all different every year. It's whatever they choose to give. Some of them will make homemade cookies. Some of them will write notes, cute little rhymes that go with a chapstick. Or this year I saw somebody had tags made up and they're getting some local made kettle corn and bagging it. And it says, "We're popping with appreciation for all that you do" on the tag. So there's cute little things like that that they give. And they always put a sticker on the back that says which department it's from. But basically, the volunteers will get a listing that's shown on the screen of which floor they need to go to and which department. And they will separate into groups of 4 or smaller. And I'll start each group in a different area and they will rotate for 1 hour and try to make it to all the stops. And it's so well received. The volunteers have a blast. Even you can see Ellie, she got her own special treats from everybody. But it's just a lot of random things, but it puts the volunteer in front of the departments, the employees that want to personally, face to face, say, "Thank you for all that you do." So depending on where your volunteer service is, you could customize something like this to work there. It's especially if the people who your volunteers serve truly appreciate it, because it, like I said, it's not about the amount of money that you spend. It's about the effort that you put, like even a note and a homemade chocolate chip cookie. So this is the highlight of their week. And this is all about our honor wall. The poster that Joyce was holding in the slide earlier, we choose a very, very visible place that our staff would walk through several times a day. And they allow us to post these wonderful posters that highlight every single volunteer on their own poster with their information, like whether if they're a chaplain, how many spiritual care visits they did in the year. There's a close-up of Sue Chenoweth. She was a brand new volunteer last year. She didn't have any statistics to put on her poster, so we just said, "Welcome to our team." And they really do. I'll tell them, just go down and find your poster. And then they'll start looking at everybody else's poster and comparing ours and say, "Oh, they have more pathfinding numbers than I do. I'll beat them next year." But you can see on the top poster, at the very end of all the single ones, there's a very large poster that's plain white. And that is there to encourage the staff when they walk by to get a pen out and write a personal message to the volunteers. So by the end of the week, before the awards luncheon, that poster is generally filled with messages. We take that off the wall and we actually display it as the volunteers enter the awards luncheon, so they can stop, get around it, look at all the messages, and feel even more special. So just little things that you do like that is totally, like, almost free, but it's a way to get the message to the volunteers. And this is the posting that I told you a little bit earlier about, that we put at both of our entrances, and it shows everybody when they come in, this is the volunteers that we have. We're honoring them this week. This is their life hours, their years of service. And it's amazing to watch people stop and go through the names and follow the finger across and see how long they've been here. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, the volunteers even gather around it and check it out every year. So it's something they look forward to. And we take this to our awards luncheon and post it, and everybody gets a copy of it on their place setting. But we also post these in our volunteer locker rooms for the whole next year, so that everybody can see what's been done and maybe set a new goal. So this is a really neat tool that we use. Something else that you can do during volunteer week that we do is we submit an article to our local newspaper, and they will generally do it for free just to highlight something that's being done in the community. And we also use our social media to post special things, like if our volunteer pathfinders did 10,000 escorts in the year, we may have a group picture of the volunteer pathfinders and put it on there with that post, and just do a little shout out to different groups of volunteers. This is a very special one that I do every year. Is I will sit down, I get a box of just thank you notes blank inside, and I will take the time to sit down and write every single person a customized message that highlights something that I know about them. Because whenever I work with my volunteers, I touch base face to face with every single one of them at least once a week when they're here. And if I don't do it in person, it's by text to ask them how they're doing, get to know them, know what's going on in their life. And it makes it a whole lot easier to write those handwritten notes if you really know the person. Our whole goal, though, with everything is just to make them feel appreciated. And I think that all of the things that we do here, at least the feedback that I get from our volunteers, is that they feel very appreciated. The longevity of people that stick with us it's amazing. I mean, they're amazing people. I hope to be as great a person as they are someday. Maybe when I retire and have more time on my hands, I can volunteer even more than I do now. But that's the whole goal. And if you implement even one or two of these things, your volunteers are going to feel very special and appreciated, and they will continue to donate their time when they feel that way. So something that Dana, I told her that I did here at Davis Medical, it has nothing to do with Volunteer Appreciation Week, but when a volunteer is here on their birthday or within a day or so of their birthday, and this is a very inexpensive thing you can do. I go to Dollar Tree and I bought this happy birthday sign and some of the buttons and, the little cake and the banners, and I will post them where that volunteer is serving. This is Dave. He just had a birthday last month, and he was tickled. He asked me to take this picture of him because we put a little sign on top of the cake, and then anybody who wants to leave him a Post-it note message can write their message on the little Post-it pad that we have there and stick it on the wall. And by the end of his 4-hour shift, this is how many Post-it notes he had of people walking by that wanted to say happy birthday to him. And he was so proud of this. He said, will you take a picture and send it to me? I want to show my kids when they come to town. So Dave agreed that I could share his little story today, but this is just another one of those really inexpensive, not very much effort at all ways that they feel so very special. So volunteers are truly the heart of our community. Our theme this year, I love it, says the heart of a volunteer is not measured in size, but by the depth of commitment to make a difference in the lives of others. And I truly believe that. They're wonderful people. So thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit about what we do at Davis Medical Center for Volunteer Appreciation Week. My contact information is right here. If you have any specific questions about something that I've shared, or you just want to say something, you can email me and I'll be happy to connect with you.
Thank you, Valerie. Valerie, you have such a gift for making people feel loved and appreciated. It just comes so naturally to you. So I really appreciate you letting us shine a spotlight on your program and all your hard work, because I can tell how much you love what you do and you're so skilled at it. So I hope Valerie's presentation inspired you with maybe one idea you could write down, whether it's having a lunch for your volunteers or getting them recognition pins or doing a wall of an appreciation wall or an appreciation walk. what I really noticed with what Valerie shared is she really has a gift to bring everyone on board. So you might just think it's about your volunteers, but she also highlighted how important it is to get your employees and staff on board and to share the successes of your volunteers so everyone's on the same page. And then together as a team, you can build a really nice community. And I think that's what you do so well, Valerie. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So Valerie's going to stick around for the rest of the presentation. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat box for us. But I really appreciate her being here today. And she's also one of our board members here at Volunteer West Virginia. So we're thankful for her for sharing her time. So now I'm going to share, Valerie shared so many good ideas. I feel like I could just stop the presentation early and we could just all take a walk together. But I have a few more ideas that I'm going to share with you that Valerie helped me form. And we're going to talk a little bit about volunteer recognition tips and tricks. So when you're thinking about recognizing your volunteers, one of the things I've gleaned is that every volunteer is different. So you need to think about what would be the best way to recognize your volunteers. So the picture in the right-hand corner here, we have two different types of people. The woman is very outgoing and social and friendly. So I bet she would love to be recognized in front of her peers and receive an award. And then the man on the right-hand corner, he's a behind the scenes kind of guy. So if you recognized him in front of his fellow volunteers, he might even be embarrassed. So we always like to talk about that. You need to think about what way your volunteers want to be thanked, so you make sure you thank them properly. So we're going to talk a few different ways that you can recognize your volunteers, whether it's a personalized recognition. This would be really good for a behind the scenes person. A public recognition, this is great for the woman in the corner here. She loves being seen and heard. So this would be perfect for her. We're going to talk about professional and personal perks, fun and unexpected perks, and how you can listen and engage, and how that is even a way to recognize your volunteers. So start to think about what kind of volunteers are you working with. So if you have someone that's more behind the scenes, or maybe a handwritten thank you note would go a long way. My mom taught me always to write a thank you note, and I still continue to do so. So sometimes just a simple, heartfelt note can go a long way. And this is going to be an idea that doesn't cost a lot of money. And Valerie talked a little bit about this too, about how she writes handwritten notes to all her volunteers during National Volunteer Week. So that's a really great way to do it. And then if you have someone that's a little bit more outgoing, like the woman on the past slide, you can feature your volunteers in newsletters, on social media, or in annual reports. So these are really good for your shooting stars. And then you'll get their face out there and they'll bring other volunteers in, because they'll say, I know Valerie, she's awesome. I want to volunteer at the hospital too. Count me in. And then lastly, we talked a lot about this with Valerie. She had some great ideas. Small, meaningful gifts, such as custom pins, certificates, or branded merchandise, show appreciation. So one of the great tips she shared was, when you share something with your volunteer, make sure it's branded. So when they're out and about in the community, people will start to recognize them and put a name to your organization and a face. So here's an idea that you can do if you want to personally recognize your volunteers. I love this award. So what they did on this slide is they colored in plates with different awards for each volunteer. So you think of one way you want to recognize each volunteer and you give them an award. So here's a creative idea if you want to do something other than paper. So this is a reusable decorative plate. You could, I looked at kits online, I would say to make 12, it was about maybe $100. So if you want a less expensive way to do this, I thought you could do a Christmas ornament or even a flower pot from the Dollar Tree. I think you could paint these on there and have a really cute volunteer award, and then you could give it to your volunteer with a little plant or even a mug. So it just depends on how much money you want to invest. And then if you have no money or very low money, you can just print these on a piece of paper or crafting them from construction paper. Because whether it's a mug or paper award, what's going to stand out to your volunteers is that you're going to find one special thing about each of them and highlight it. So here's an idea if you want to do personal recognition awards. And then another great low cost idea would be a candy appreciation label. So these are on this website. I'm going to send out these slides after today's training, but these labels are on this website and you can print them out for free. And what the woman does who runs this blog is she saves her old Halloween candy. I guess now would be Easter candy. And she puts these labels on it and then she hands it out to her volunteers. So This is a really good idea. Maybe you hand these out before a volunteer shift begins or at the end of the day, because these would be such a low cost item that it's something you could pass along to your volunteers. So never underestimate the value of a very small gift or a little piece of candy. So we talked a little bit about that, and now we're going to talk about public recognition. So some examples for this would be a volunteer appreciation event. This is really great if you can begin to put one on your calendar, and maybe it's an annual event that you do each year during National Volunteer Week or any time of the year. And you can start small. I'm sure Valerie started small with her series. She's done it over 12 years, and then you gradually build on things. So you can have a luncheon, banquet, or an informal gathering to celebrate their impact. Even if you had a potluck at the local park, they're going to love getting together, so it doesn't have to be something big and formal, just an opportunity to bring them all together. We always love awards and certificates. You can do an award of the month, or if sometimes it's too hard to pick a volunteer of the month, you can recognize them by milestones, whether it's the number of hours they've served or the number of people they've helped. You can use that data to use it as an award. And then lastly, you can just do a really informal shout out, acknowledge volunteers in meetings. Maybe during your board meetings, you share what your volunteers have contributed to your organization, emails, or through your website and social media. So here's some great examples of ways West Virginia volunteer programs are recognizing their volunteers on Facebook and social media. So right here we have the United Way of Central West Virginia. This is a beautiful spotlight they did for an AmeriCorps seniors volunteer named Patsy and Sonia. And what they do here is they do a little blip on the top, and then they explain their service and a picture on the bottom. So if you know someone that appreciates being recognized publicly, this would be a great way. And an expert tip would be always ask your volunteers if they're okay with this, because you would hate for someone who's very humble to be turned off by their picture being shared. So you want to ask them first. And then we also have a beautiful volunteer spotlight from the New River Animal Rescue. And this is for Kathy, who helps with these beautiful dogs and animals. So what's different is the one on the right, Kathy, it's pretty short. You get some beautiful pictures. And then on the one on the left, they shared a little bit about Patsy and Sonia's service. So either way is awesome. It just goes to show two different ways you can spotlight your volunteers. And what's great about this, it's free. So no cost at all. And that was important. We wanted to share some ideas today that were low cost for you all. So now we're going to go into our third tier of recognition. This is what I don't really think about a lot, but this would be really good if you're working with college students or even high school students. They're going to be really interested in letters of recommendation. So you can offer to write recommendations for jobs, schools, or other volunteer opportunities. This is a great way to reach out to a younger audience that would need these things, or anyone who is looking to build their career. It doesn't have to be a young person, of course. You can provide free workshops, training, or networking events. So this is a great option if you do a really niche thing. We work alongside the Preservation Alliance of West Virginia, and one of the free workshops they provide is a window restoration workshop. So just kind of reforming something you're already doing as a workshop for your volunteers is going to make them feel special and that you're teaching them a new skill. And I don't know about you all, but learning a new skill is something that would keep me around as a long-term volunteer. And then lastly is exclusive access. So give special behind the scenes access to events, tours, or leadership opportunities. So examples of this would be if you work maybe with historic preservation or at a museum, you could do a behind the scenes tour of the archives. I know you all got some good stuff back there, and I'd want to see what kind of historic items you have. Or, for example, I volunteered at a thrift store, and there was a few days where we were able to go in the back and look at all the donations and take a few items, like small items. So it was like a t-shirt. So you could do a behind the scenes tour of your thrift shop and then offer your volunteers a voucher for $10 worth of merchandise. So kind of a new way to repurpose what you're already doing, but adding a special flair for your volunteers. So this is something I really love. This wasn't from West Virginia, but I like the way they organized this information. And this has to go with professional perks. So what this group did in Salt Lake City, I assume, is they share their volunteer perks on their social media. And this is going to be a really great way if you're trying to bring in college students or anyone that's building their resume or volunteer hours. So they say you get school hours and a letter recommendation. And I like the way they put this together, and it got me thinking that you could share this on your social media, but you could also put it on flyers around town or in your volunteer handbook. So these are all things you're doing already, but what you're doing is you're writing them down and giving them to people in a new format. And I think it just kind of changes the way you think about it. So I really love this idea. It's free and it wouldn't take that long to do it, whether you put this on your, I think this was on their Instagram, on your Instagram or Facebook, or just put it at the library, as a flyer. Show people the value in volunteering at your organization. And then who doesn't love some fun these days? So fun and unexpected perks. So surprise treat, just like what I was saying, a $5 gift card can go a long way, even a cup of coffee, or just maybe some nice coffee creamery at your organization. You bring it in with a snack or a small surprise, and that's really going to brighten everyone's spirits and lift their days. Branded t-shirts, mugs, or tote bags always are good. And if you need an argument for your director or your board, this is going to boost public awareness of your organization and help to recruit new volunteers. So it's more than giving someone a shirt, it's helping you bring new people in. And then I love this. This is Wall of Fame. Valerie talked about that. And what I thought was really special about Valerie's Wall of Fame is that she uses a volunteer's picture. And I think that's a nice touch because it's helping your volunteers meet the other volunteers and your staff. So I love the Wall of Fame idea. If I was going to do one idea, I think that would be it. And then this is an example from the past category. We didn't talk about this specifically, but I love volunteer yard signs. I think they're such a cool idea. It's a great way to build awareness about your program. So how this works is you ask your volunteers, of course, and then you can recognize them with a yard sign. And then their neighbors are going to be interested, and it's going to build so much awareness. The picture on the right was from 4-H. They received a mini grant. So occasionally we do $500 mini grants for volunteer recognition, and then they use that $500 to buy new yard signs. And I think it's super cool and a great way to recognize your volunteers. So I looked online, you can buy these, someplace that you could buy them for 67 cents. I don't know. And then I saw it cost $10. So you all would know better than me, but I would say it would range between $1 to $10 per sign. I'd have to look into it, but it wouldn't cost too much, and I think it would be worth it. And then lastly is listen and engage. So this is really interesting. It's something you probably haven't considered, that just listening to your volunteers can be a way to show appreciation. So ask for feedback, show value in their input by conducting surveys or hosting listening sessions. So oftentimes volunteers have fresh eyes, and they're going to notice new ways for systems and processes that you would have never dreamed of. So just having an open space where they can give their ideas will go a long way. And that's not to say you have to use all their ideas, but just a way for them to provide feedback, and then they're going to feel more invested in your organization. Give empowerment, give dedicated long-term volunteers leadership roles. So this is a great way to continue someone's volunteer service if they've been with you for 5 or 10 years. To keep them engaged, you can give them more of a leadership position. And then lastly, personalized check-ins. Just take time to ask about how they're feeling, their challenges, and how you can support them, or just even how their life is going. It goes a long way because you never know where people are at. So just show an interest in their experience and how they're doing personally. A lot of times people call and they ask, how do I get volunteers? Like, what's the secret? And my answer is that getting a new volunteer is like making a new friend. It's the same type of relationship, and you need to listen and learn and engage with that person. They're not like magical unicorns that you can just open a door and they come in. It's just a person, and you just have to treat it like a new relationship or a blossoming friendship. So here's an example of a volunteer listening session. This would be if you have a food bank, and they would be hosting that today from 6 to 7 p.m. And you invite all your volunteers to share their new ideas. Because to think about, if you were volunteering at a group and you were able to share your idea, it would make you feel like $1 million. This is a great way to get volunteers invested in your leadership and on your team. So we just shared so many ideas. Valerie, I wish we would have counted them all, because I think we shared at least 20 or 30 different volunteer recognition ideas. So as we close, I would love to hear in the chat box one recognition idea that you learned today that you're going to try. And I'm going to be curious to hear what you say, to see if there's one idea that's popular that's vibing with everyone. So please take a second to share your idea, because I'd love to see what stood out to you today. All right, and as you share your ideas, I'm going to put this link in the chat. We would love to hear your feedback from today's webinar. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box too. So I'm going to spend the last few minutes just looking at your answers and seeing if we have any questions right after I copy this link. Here's a survey link. And then let's see what ideas are standing out. So Sandra loves the pen idea. Sarah loves the walk idea. I do too. This is very interesting. Hey Dale, good to see you twice this week. He loves the yard sign idea. It seems like everyone has found a different idea that they like, which I think is pretty cool because that was our intention, was to have something for everyone. So Sharon, hi Sharon, it's good to see you. She loved the Walk of Fame idea. I could see you doing that at the resource center for sure. And yeah, very cool. All different ideas. Chelsea likes the listening session idea. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that our goal has been accomplished because everyone has walked away with one idea and they're all different. And does anyone have any questions for Valerie or myself before we end today's call? We have a few minutes. You can paste it in the chat or unmute yourself. Maybe I'll just a second. Okay, Valerie, do you have anything else you want to share before we close?
Thank you for allowing me to join in today. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you, Valerie. Valerie helped to do this whole webinar, so it's all you, girl. I love how it turned out, and we really appreciate all of you for showing up today. And we're going to be sending out this recording right after the call. So we'll see you next month for grant writing training. Bye.